Okay, we're back to part 2 of chapter 1, which is childhood. We're up to, so he couldn't understand about death. He was questioning it, and he just couldn't. He he felt like a part of him had gone. He said he was questioning and saying, is this real? He's saying to God, is this real? Um, he's not gone, right? He just couldn't grasp that he was actually gone. That Mr. Charlie was actually gone. Then, because of I think everything his mum had been through, I think that really pushed her over the edge, and she turned to the bottle. And when she got going, he didn't actually stop for 27 years. I think that's really hard, and you hear that in a lot of abusive families where one of them or both of them, or they turn to the bottle. I think to sort of numb the pain. Um, Tyrese was always a hyperactive kid, quite a funny kid to be around. Nothing's changed, I think. I actually love watching his videos. They always put a smile on my face. He's got that energy about him that you would love to be around. Can't wait to meet him one day. But anyway, everything that Tyrese did was on a 10 level, which sounds exactly like how Tyrese would be. He was saying also that him and his brother, they wanted, then he said, no, that we needed attention, and they would literally do anything to get it. They would, crack jokes, they would do anything to get attention. He went to a private school, different to here, because private schools here are for people who have more money than public schools, and they're a bit better than public schools here, whereas there in America it sounds very different. Sounds as though your private schools are for the people that need help, whereas your public schools are for the normal people. So it sounds very different. He was saying that he never really settled down, and he was always getting into fights. And that's the school that he was going to. There was a level of dysfunction that was crazy. And it was like being in a giant juvenile jail. And then because he was in an environment where, everyone was pretty much the same, his fighting got to a whole new level. And then, unfortunately, he was saying his home was anything but a sanctuary. And then after Mr. Charlie passed away, this lighting, I don't know what's going on, his mum met another guy, and who he referred to as Bernard. And he was saying that he was a very suave guy, very cool guy. Everything that his mum was basically looking for, and he fit the bill perfectly. He was handsome, charming. The only thing was he was incredibly abusive towards his mum. And I think that's really interesting, because once someone accepts the way that someone else treats them, they usually gravitate towards those kind of people. Until they develop self-worth for themselves and not put up with that and say, no, I will not tolerate being treated that way. But his mum, obviously, she was used to that, and she gravitated towards that, and they would often get drunk together and be very physically abusive. The one thing that Tyrese mentioned was everything that was going on around him, all the bad stuff, everything and everyone became anti-role models, and everything that he didn't want to become. I think that's really profound, because he knew at a very early age what he didn't want to be because of what he was seeing around him. And then at private school one day, he met this lovely lady called Angie, who drove the school bus to the private school. She'd pick him up every morning, and there were days where she would actually feed him and bring him new clothes to wear to school. I think that's really sad. She said something to me like, don't tell anybody that I'm buying you this stuff, because I don't want other kids to think I'm giving you special treatment. I'm not supposed to give anyone my personal phone number or pick you up on the weekends, but I see something in you. You're a really smart kid, and I see that you have real potential to be something in life. I'm going to help you. Isn't that nice? So she recognized the good in him amongst all the madness that was going on. And he saw a lot of drug dealing at the time, and he realized that the gangs would actually prey on these young kids because these kids just wanted to feel part of a family, and whether they had parents at home or not, they more likely was a dysfunctional family. So when you're part of the gangs, they make you feel like you're part of something, and that's how they reel them in. And then there was this guy called Fred, who he met as well, who was like, no, you're not, I don't want you part of it, and he sort of steered Tyrese away from it. And then he talks about how hungry he always was, and he did anything for money, so it's all about the hustle. You know, everything he did was about the hustle. He's saying even though his childhood was a lot of bad stuff, he did have fun. And you know, he really delves into how hungry he always was. It's so sad. He said, I'm broke, I'm hungry, there is nothing that I'm wearing on my back that wasn't purchased. It was either given to me or a hand-me-down, or some stuff Bernard brought home, or something stolen off a clothing line. You know, it just makes you think in this day and age how we would cope. I'm going to stop it there again. So it's part 1 I did before, this is part 2, and I'll do part 3 shortly.